now due to the advancements in semiconductor technologies and the renewable energy sources, there is a lot of interest towards the DC, that too in the distribution system. So this today's session is going to be the basics of DC microgrids. So as all of us are aware that future is going to be revolutionized by the DC distribution system. So this session will throw various insights towards the DC micro, as well as it will kindle our interest towards research in that area. So there is a saying that a good product needs no advertisement. As soon as the were disclosed in the social media, we got a overwhelming response. The response was around 250 registrations yesterday. So this shows the what to say, potential of speaker, and the key delivery is going to deliver to all of us. Thanks, Madhavan Engineering College, sir, Dr. P. Raja, sir, for this session. I wish to conclude that this session will be very session and a knowledge sharing session. So the people who are joined us, who are having interest in the research area, you please take away the delivered by Dr. P. Raja and initiate your key interest in the research area, serving the nation as well as the community. I am sure that you will all full knowledge sharing session. In this juncture, I would like to convey my sincere thanks to Mrs. Hemalata Madam, Assistant Professor, who was behind this live program and identifying our resource person in bringing over here today. Thanks, ma'am. Thanks on behalf of the faculty. I wish to congratulate Dr. Udam and the faculty of EEE department, coordinator Mr. Priyadarshini ma'am, for bringing this event into a real one. Thanks to all of them. Question to Dr. P. Raja sir. More to hear from you, sir. Welcome once again, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's my pleasure and it's my honor that a lecture on DC microgrid. The only point I would like to stress here is all about basics, and as Professor Sadish Kumar, Principal of CIN, was very able pointed out, the requirement, or I would say the need of the system is really coming up in a very, I would say, initial growth we could see. Especially I can understand through various literatures we came across, as well as various products coming up in the market. So what I would like to do today is probably, when Mrs. Hemalata approached me, she was telling me most of the participants will be of students. So I thought I would like to keep my topic as fundamentals or basics of grid. So the listeners, I just wanted to give you a brief indication about the discussion. This is going to be generally on fundamentals, and if required and if you wish, probably I can have another session on advancements in terms of, especially in terms of what are the background required to develop a DC microgrid, what are the potential area in which NIT is working, as well as what are the potential area other researchers are working. I can handle another session, because I completely planned today only on basics, and if time permits, such little a kind of introduction towards what possible in terms of research relevant area. So with that, probably I can get into my presentation. I request all the participants to mute your mic, and I have made two interactive slides. One slide will be on general, the other slide will be on something related to technical, so that we will have some sort of communication between you and me. Okay, let me proceed. So these are the points we will be discussing, but as I told you, the protection schemes, challenges, literature, and what we do here, probably all that is part 2 of the entire DC microgrid. And mostly I'll be taking you through, why we are venturing into DC microgrid now, and what are the significance, the importance of DC microgrid, why it is getting popular nowadays. And when you frame a microgrid, along with why I post, before that I will be posting what is it, what is a microgrid, and after that we will see why microgrid and DC microgrid, why DC microgrid, and then what are the various configurations, and probably at the end we'll touch on some of the research potentials possible in DC microgrid. And before I proceed, let me have a very quick survey. This is going to be, forget about this last point, excellence. It is just got added without my intervention. So it is going to be very simple. What you have to do is to take any browser. You can go to a new tab in a browser. Type POLL is on the top. You can see here POLLEV.com. Just type that POLLEV.com. And immediately it will ask you username. You can see here username is Raja, R-A-J-A-P, Raja P201. Then it will say join. Once you join, it will ask, so you can give your name, then just continue, and then immediately it will take you to a slide, or I would say a screen. I am a faculty, or an undergraduate student, or a postgraduate student, or a research scholar. From the last point, excellent, as others. Okay, others. I can use that. Okay, very good. One faculty responded. Yes, there is a research scholar. Very good. You can see my screen, what I am projecting also. Dynamically, the change happens when people started responding. Yes, there is a postgraduate student also. Okay, he removed. Okay, faculty, postgraduate student. Very good. I will not spend more time on this. I just wanted to get a very quick survey on what the composition is. The audience are just quick. You can look at. If you are still unable to log in, I repeat, you have to just type in your browser POLLE.com, and it will ask you username. Username is RAJAP 201, and you will be able to see a question and just respond it. That's all. I think again now the undergraduate students are getting in, and yes, faculty 50% postgraduate students, there are research scholars, there are undergraduate students. It is great to see that. Probably what is who have entered, those who are logged in, you please stay there. I'm telling you, you can please stay there. Probably in the next coming slide, some slide, I have another post. So automatically your screen will get updated to that question. Okay. So thank you for the response. A very good mix of people. That means faculty, undergraduate students, postgraduate students, research scholars. So it is kind of tough to balance the fundamentals as well as the research requirement, but I'll try to do my best. Thank you. I think now the response is really good. Thank you. Let me move on further. So, majority of us must be knowing about the story of Indian grid. I mean, the why I would like to bring this. We know what is a grid means. Now, I always say my students, whenever you see a literal term, okay, an English term, don't just get into a technical meaning from the textbook point of view. You just check in your dictionary what is a grid, because our title microgrid, right? So, what is a grid? See, grid is something like, the moment we think of grid, you'll get something like this. You can see interconnections of various points. I mean, there are interconnections. This is what we generally, if you ask a non-electrical engineering student itself, he will think a grid means what I am drawing here. So this gives an idea that anything which is getting interconnected in a specific pattern, I would call that as a grid. There is no doubt about that. What is electric grid? So the prefix matters here, electric grid. So when you say electric grid, interconnection of various electrical components are called grid. But in general, this grid is a large scale. Till recent past, the grid is actually used for a large scale integration of components. When I say large scale, it is of high power capacity. That is a very important point. So the most of our grid level power measurement, okay, most of our grid level electrical power measurement is in megawatts. I think you would have seen common news or common literature or even some of the subjects when you talk about power system or grids, it will be megawatt, and people started talking about gigawatt. Okay, people started talking about gigawatt because our energy requirement as well as energy generation started rising. I'm not getting into statistics now, but what I wanted to tell you here is Indian power grid. Indian is actually a very, very high strength grid. Can I say strength? What is the strength of a power grid? The strength of the grid is to handle a huge amount of power generation and huge amount of load demand. Okay, that is the strength. How much capacity of load is handling? It is very huge. And very interestingly, since our country is geographically highly wide and length, width and I would say height or length, our resources of electrical power generation is also geographically spread. So what at the country level people have done, especially we had 3 regional grids. That means they would like to pool the power which are geographically connected, geographically nearby. To make that, they have made, you can see number 1, northern grid, northeast, east, west, and these are the 5 grids were existing, regional grids. I told you what is grid. It means interconnection of various power elements. So whatever elements is in the northern area, they are interconnected. But there was a discussion about, see, like still talking about river interconnection, correct? River interconnection is still on discussion. Similar way, there was a discussion about why don't we have a resource exchange of electrical energy across the country. When you say they are divided into various grids, technically they are divided in terms of voltage and frequency. That means the operating frequencies in regional grids are slightly differ, or they slightly differ. But since they would like to have an exchange of power across the country, they would like to synchronize the grid. I think even second year can understand what do you mean by synchronization. So they would like to synchronize the grids, and they started doing geographically close by networks. They started doing it. You look at that. Geographically, northeast and east were very close by, and luckily their capacity of operation and demand also was comparatively less with respect to the rest of the 3 grids. So they synchronized October 1991, synchronized those 2 grids. Now, when I say those 2 grids are synchronized, it means that their operating frequencies are common. I mean, they are not operating in frequency. Then later, March 2003, Western grid got synchronized with already synchronized grid. So now this OM1, and you can see here that is called central grid. So you can see a beautiful Indian map. That means you have southern grid and you have central grid. Now, by 2006, they synchronized north and central. You look at us, by 2006, our grid, that means when I say our grid, the southern grid was not synchronized with the new grid. The new grid comprises of, you look at my first map, it comprises of north, west, east, and east. They combine. And, very interestingly, they had a discussion, at least by 2014, we should achieve this mission. That means one nation, one grid. I would add one more term: nation, one grid, one frequency. So they aimed, when they completed this synchronization by 2000, they aimed to have this by 2040. But very interestingly, one second. Okay. Interestingly, they could achieve this one frequency, one grid, one nation in December 2013 itself. Okay, so now you can transformation 5 regional grids to 4, 4 to 3, 3 to 2, and now we are operating. I am very proud to call as an electrical engineer, because we are the one handling one such a very electrical network which has got truly very high power handling capacity. Okay, and you can refer, I forgot to take that picture. You can always refer there is an interesting map, Power Grid Map India. You can check, okay? You'll get a very interesting graph where all the power lines, especially 760 lines, 400 kV lines, and 220 kV lines, okay? I think to some extent 110 and 132 kV lines mentioned, and HVDC lines and HVD lines, all are shown with respect to, I mean, all are shown between which substation to which substation brought in. You know, especially for teachers, those who are teaching undergraduate students power system, especially transmission and distribution, I probably to impress our students, you can use that map. It is a very well established lab. I mean, very well established map. Okay, so now why this story should be told here? The story is told because that we are convincingly very operating our system in AC grid at large power scale. There is no doubt. At large. And when there is a growth, in AC power grid integrations, especially in terms of thermal, when I say thermal, coal-fired, gas-fired, and all that will come, then hydro, then renewable. Yes, nuclear is there, renewable. So when people started bringing up renewable energy into integration of such a huge, people were really happy inside. That means the major advantage of having renewable energy sources, I need not to tell. That means from first year or even in 12th standard or even before that, people are started talking about what are the benefits of having renewable energy sources. I'm not going to repeat it. But what I wanted to tell you as an electrical engineer point of view, a grid operator point of view. When I say grid, I'm referring a very powerful AC grid of India. So we know, I think from paper you would have studied or you would have heard that we have an installation of 750 megawatt of solar plant recently. Okay, very recently they integrated. Okay, we must be very happy about this. We really happy about that. There is no doubt. But at the same time, what's very important here is that the nature of this solar and wind plants are intermittent in nature. I think I need not explain what is intermittent in nature. That means they are not continuously available 24/7. That is one important point. Okay, so what? Whenever it is there, I can export. Whenever it is not there, let me not use it. Okay, probably that may be a thinking with respect to a non-electrical engineer point of view. If you happen to be a power system engineer, or if you happen to have a very basic knowledge of operation and control of our electric power system, you may wonder, we had one problem, or we are still facing that whenever there is a huge generation and demand mismatch, if there is a generation and demand mismatch, we know that there is a huge oscillation in frequency possible in the net. I need not to explain. That means when I say generation, all our large scale power generation, when I say demand, total demand. Suppose, let me guess, suppose all of a sudden your peak demand decreases very hugely, then there is a moment PG greater than P generation becomes greater than P demand, then system will be in transition oscillating condition. There is no doubt. Second condition would be P generation would fall drastically low due to some reason. So Gen becomes less than PD. Why these conditions are important? These conditions are important because there is a sudden change in either one of this case. It is going to disturb the steady state operating condition of our entire power system. There is no doubt. We were studying the fundamental power system itself. Okay, why I should talk about that here? I should talk about that because whenever change in your demand, whenever there is a change in power generation, if my power plants are only thermal I mean coal-fired, gas-operated, nuclear, and hydro. If power plants, my generating sources are only of such nature, advantage I have, the biggest advantage I have, they are all controllable from my side. That means an operator can control this resource. I can control the flow of coal, I can control the flow of gas, I can control the nuclear energy input, I can control the hydro. Unfortunately, if you have integration of solar and wind, we are very sad with respect to that point. That means there is not in our control. So, if there is a plant of 750 megawatt which has got a fluctuation of P generation in very huge scale, then you think of the stability of the network. You know that our Indian power engineers are really great. They have done sufficient study and they could do enough analysis. If I go for an integration of 750 megawatt of solar power plant in a large scale integration, what are the disturbances I may face in my power system? Really, they have done a very great analysis. Then only they can venture into such a huge project. So this is the one I wanted to stress as the impact of renewable energy resources on the large integrated power system. So what I wanted to put it in a nutshell, that we are going to face, when I say we, system operator or a power engineer, are going to face really a tough phase of integrating large scale renewables into power system. So ultimately, if those problems are very evidently visible to us, people thought, okay, you have your own grid, it is very massive. I am trying to bring various resources, wind. I am trying to bring solar, and already existing thermal and nuclear and hydro are already there. Okay, fine. But if it is going to create some issues after some limit, what people thought is, why don't you create small islands of power system? Small islands of power system within the grid, within the existing grid. What that would is, that means you plan a very small wind power generation. You plan a small solar power generation, and you just satisfy your local demand. What I mean local demand, there was someone asking about, is Chennai and Madurai the same? Yeah, even we may not know that in North, if they mention two, we may not know whether they are the same or different. Yes, but the geographically, if you look at principal service telling, it is 400 kilometer apart. But if you think about Madurai and as well as Trichy is in between Madurai and Chennai, Trichy do not have a dedicated power plant. It actually gets power. And Madurai, okay, nearby power plants are there. If there is a potential of solar and wind in the local geographical footprints, what people started suggesting is to generate your power through such a renewables, majorly through renewables, and try to consume there itself. What advantage? There's one immediate advantage is that locally I can cater power. It means that from the huge network, all I am drawing power, the load level, the load demand would come down. So my thermal operation can increase, hydro can be slightly withdrawn, nuclear can slightly withdrawn. No doubt, you can still go with already existing wind and solar PV. And more than that, why don't you start think about geographically catering your own using your own regional generation? That kicks up the idea called microgrids. So when I say micro, I think if you are an electrical student, he'll be very clear on this micro. Especially, we are very much familiar with micro with this, that means microfarad. Okay, that is 10 to the power of minus 6. And if you ask power engineer, he is very much into capital M and capital W. That means that is megawatt. Okay, now you can see if there is a watt of power, and if I just divide that by, or I would say not divide, I would say just multiply it by, it becomes just 1. Correct? So what people started thinking of is that if any power network get 1 megawatt and less, okay, this is not still completely defined in literature, but many of the researchers start out this. If you could create a local grid which is of the capacity of 1 megawatt and less, then you can name that with microgrids. Okay, 1 megawatt and less can be called as microgrids. Please remember, microgrids are going to be islands, or I would say tiny power plants, which are going to sit within your grid itself. It is like an embedded view of small grids into a large scale grid. So that's what we name or we refer as microgrid. Just to make it very clear, there are few definitions I'm going to float, but these definitions are not like standardized. They are still evolving. It will be yet to bring, I would say a very standard microgrid is yet to be defined because it is still evolving. So what I thought is to make you to understand what a microgrid is. Based on, I told you all this time, I explained just why there could be a move towards microgrid. Okay, I told you one reason. Please remember that is not the only reason people thought microgrids. There are other reasons. That means I can tell you one more reason. Immediate reason is that when there is when there are remote areas where you are still unable to reach them through your conventional grid, they are planning. I can say some of our friends visited a microgrid near to Bangalore. Actually, it is a hilly area. They witnessed they operate a dedicated microgrid for their own community. And very interestingly, it is islanded operation of microgrid. That means there is no conventional microgrid being connected. Please remember. I'm going to show you some examples also. Now let us get into microgrids. I'm going to place 4 definitions. Interestingly, they look similar. It must be similar. At the same time, the words they coined are really interesting and slightly different. You can see here, it is a small plus renewable energy sources. That's a very primitive point any microgrid will carry. Just now I was kept on explaining you. I was kept on telling you one point that the major impact of renewable energy should be broad. I would say the major disadvantages of renewable energy, of intermittency, can be brought down if it is connected to a small scale level. So small scale cluster of renewable energy sources like solar, wind, biomass, tidal power plant, and energy storage devices to provide power for local small communities. This is another one. This local small, okay, small makes micro. Local small makes micro in terms of geography. In terms of geographical footprint, it makes. So micro actually means both. One in terms of power, the other in terms of area. But you need not wonder that if you could reduce your geographical footprint area, coverage, and loads and everything started coming down, then naturally the power generation is going to be less. So we call this microgrid. This is one way to look at what is microgrid. There is another way. You look at the term. It is a scaled down version of centralized power plant. What do your centralized power plant generally have? You have generation, and that gets connected to transmission, and that goes to distribution. These are the components in a large scale power plant. So it is a scaled down version of that centralized power plant. When I say scaled down, it is in terms of both power as well as geography. It can generate, it can distribute, and control power in small community. Look at an interesting term, or I would say interestingly, this, though it says it is a scaled down central power plant, you can see here there is one term clearly missing. Clearly missing. That means we say generation, transmission, and distribution. You can generate, distribute. Where is something here? It is missing. So transmission is missing. Yes, that is another key point, is that in microgrid, we don't transport power for long distance. That's what I was kept on telling. Generate and consume there itself. That makes microgrid. Probably this is the second idea of looking at what is microgrid. The third idea. A microgrid is a self-sufficient energy system. I can start. When we say self-sufficient, yes, it depends upon the resource, it depends on the load and everything. Serves a discrete footprint in small community such as college campus, hospital complex, business centers, or neighborhood. I'll show you something. What is here? This is interesting. Actually, people have started talking now. Neighborhood means our neighbors. Like our what I say, living, small community, apartments and all that. We'll talk about that. So this I would call as third one. Fourth one, what I am going to show is the final on microgrid definition that comprises of everything what we have spoken in 3. Look at that. Seems to be little big. Actually, an interesting statement. Microgrids are tiny power system. Very good. Point number 1. It is a tiny power system which embed various such as controlled and uncontrolled loads. You look at the term, mostly they are saying a very interesting term, controlled loads. You may think that, sir, all loads in my home are controlled. Who control? You control. If you want, you switch on the fan. If you want, you switch on the TV. That you are controlling. The controlled load means here is that you control. That means system operator, microgrid operator will send a signal to your house. Don't watch TV now. Switch off. It is an automated one. That means it is going to be, very soon. I think you must be hearing from newspapers and through various forums. A smart grid pilot project is on in Pondicherry city. Okay, you don't believe they start implementing controlled loads. That means there will be an indication to you. You are using a load, a particular load, which is not supposed to be used now. Let us say an iron box night 10 o'clock. No, you have not committed to do that. You should not. That device will not work. That means that is an interesting topic. We need a separate session to talk. But what I wanted to mention is the loads we had, especially in distribution systems, are called uncontrolled loads. That means when I say uncontrolled, don't the word uncontrolled. That means they are not automated. They are not automatically controlled. Very few are automatically controlled, but many at our house are not controlled. Okay, but one of the main component they would like to bring when they design a microgrid, it is a controlled. Then DG units, that is the third one. When I say DG units, they are distributed energy resources. When I say distributed energy resources, all our renewable, solar, biomass, tidal, all that will come into picture. Storage devices, that's fourth component. So battery, cells, etc. will come under storage devices. That is fourth element. Operating together in a coordinated manner with controlled power electronic devices. That is the next important fifth component. Which does what this power electronic converters are going to do, which does and reactive power flow controllers, frequency, voltage regulator, which are integrated with protective devices. There is no doubt. Now you look at this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? In all that, please remember, in all that, an engineering involved. Tiny power system, uncontrolled. So, for undergraduate student, for their understanding, let me tell you like this. A tiny power system, a power system engineer comes here. Control and uncontrolled loads. Control system engineer comes into picture. DG units, storage devices. Yes, again, power system engineer comes into picture. Control power electronic devices. Power electronic engineers comes into picture. One very hidden thing here is coordinated manner, right? When you say coordinated manner, I would say a seventh component, which is nothing but communication between them. So a communication engineer comes into picture. Now look at that. A microgrid is one of the best examples I do for an interdisciplinary project. We need all the people efforts to make a microgrid to work. Nothing to get surprised, because our large scale power grid involves everything, starting from power plant, mechanical engineer, power plant construction, transmission, distribution, all that, power engineer, and then distribution and control engineer. Yes, relays and everything, communicate engineer, operation and control, monitoring, computer science engineering. Say, when you talk about a power system, there is an involvement of all the same thing required when you frame microgrids too. So, whatever I told now, 1, 2, 3, 4 are which is just to tell you, especially for undergraduate students, just to make you to sit perfectly to listen that, oh, this is what microgrid is. Now put it in a very nutshell, very, very simplified way. Microgrid got three essential characteristics. Microgrid is local. Now, generally, for us, this local term is actually treated to be very local. I don't like saying some terms, they are local students. See, there, the local is kind of undertreated. I would say, kind of ill-treated. They are local students. Author, it's a very bad term used by including faculty members. I'll tell you, don't ever call any book by a local author. You Indian author. Better say Indian author. Don't call them local author. Why I am saying, though terminology is correct, but the term is, I would say, ill-treated in a wrong sense. So, at the moment you pronounce it is a local author book, even both student and faculty are getting a kind of low impression on the book. Oh, it is a local author. No. Many Indian author books are really good. You don't, it is whether they are from NIT or IIT or other institutions which are very, you call it as prestigious institution in India. Nothing like that. There are very beautiful everywhere across India, but they are unseen. They wrote very good book. Okay. But so I never say to my students, it is a local, I will say it is an Indian author book. That is foreign author book. That's all. So it's my humble opinion and suggestion. So here also, when that microgrid is local, don't get an impression that it is local. No, it is not like that. It is mentioning, I told no example of Madurai. It is a grid in Madurai. It is a grid in Trichy. It is a grid in Chennai. It is a grid in some north city. That's what it means. It is just to mention a small geographical footprint. Microgrid is independent. I told you, condition apply. Yes, it is independent, highly independent. Some support from the main grid also. Microgrid is intelligent. There is no question about it. Why? Because I would say our conventional grid also intelligent, but grids, intelligent level if you compare, intelligent level required if you compare, microgrid intelligent required would be slightly greater than our conventional grid. Let me just say with one example, only one example. The conventional grid, I mean, if they are only occupied with thermal, gas, hydro, all that, then controlling them is not that tough compared to resources from wind, resources only from solar, and because here the input is also variable. So the intelligence of coordination, intelligence of power management required for microgrid is slightly greater compared to the conventional grid. So microgrid is local, it is independent, it is intelligent. Okay, I had a very nice analogy. I just want you can see this picture that, generally we will see this person in any music concert. He will be simply waving his hand, or sometimes he will stick and waving his hand. When I was not very aware of what is this, what is a music concert, I used to think, what is that fellow is doing? He's unnecessarily standing in front of them in the hand. But later I come to know he is the key. That means he actually conducts the music concert, right? What he tries to conduct, there are variety of music instruments. And do you think that we all know that we are all very well aware that all the music are not played throughout a complete music, a complete song, all that. At the same time, all the music instruments at the same pitch. Correct? So what I wanted to, what is the correlation here with microgrid? What I wanted to say is that to make or to max effect from the microgrid. Here it is music. You have to appropriately control over all the resources, including loads. Then only you will get the benefit of microgrid. So you look at various musicians to heighten, lower, stop playing instruments. Right? So it is a combination of resources, various loads. So the coordinator, the central controller, happened to be a very important, and he happened to be an intelligent to coordinate your microgrid in a perfect way. I just wanted to put an analogy. If you like it, just take it. Right. Now, what we are just keeping a temporary close is that all about what is a microgrid is. Now, I'm to tell you as no, I'll just, yeah. What I'm going to tell you is, as very rightly started by this insecure, you know, we are actually venturing back. We had a history of power generation. You look at that in 1985, Niagara Falls Power Company. What they were doing, they were just generating power in a location, and they are just putting the power for the local area, local community. There was no such concept called transmission. We are actually moving towards that situation. No doubt about it. Only variation, only major change we will be seeing is that the resources of comes from, where it comes from, how do you generate, which form of energy you are generating, as well as the form in which it is consumed. The types. Earlier, 1895 electrical loads were completely different than the electrical loads we use in our house, in industry, all that. Conceptually, we are actually, moving back, implementing microgrid. So if you call this is a old micro grid, and you can say the next picture as a modern microgrid. That means you can see there are solar power plants, and you can call this is a very small community, and this community is completely served by the particular power generation, or it will have a compost generation. Okay, so now probably I would have made you understood what is this microgrid is. The next immediate question comes is, Principal Sir rightly pointed out that war of current. I think I advise all electrical faculty and students to at least read about this war of current. You will get to know the story of war of current. I think you will get an interesting detail in Wikipedia, very greatly written, what had really happened between Edison and Nikola Tesla. Thomas Alva Edison was very particular about promoting current, and actually Nikola Tesla was not very serious about promoting his alternating current, but he could really see there is some good thing in alternate, especially transformers. When he started looking at transporting power for a longer distance, Nikola Tesla could prove I can serve my power in terms of alternating current at various voltage levels. That was, yes, yeah, voltage levels. But at the same time, Thomas Alva Edison was kind of could not prove he could take it because he could not alter his voltage levels to transfer long distance. And interestingly, if you read this picture very closely, there is a very interesting. In 2007, Edison ended 125 years of direct current electricity service begin when Thomas Edison opened his power station in 1882. In changed the one. It changed to the only provide alternating current. So 125 officially, this war of current is settled only by the year 2007. 125. Yes, actually there was a court case. Okay, so I suggest you that please go through. You will see a lot of interesting tech as well as I would say legal stories. Now, why I should put this? Why should I put war of currents here? Because as I told you, we are moved towards microgrid. We are having moved towards microgrid. Then, when you formulate microgrid, people started thinking, should I go with AC supply or should I think of DC? So it means come back again. Now, what I wanted to show you is that a very primitive diagram, very primitive diagram about AC and DC microgrid. It is not what the diagram which I am going to show you is not the only format of microgrid, but I just wanted to start with these two diagrams. You look at these two diagrams. I think in many of the newspapers and some of the books, and they will show two diagrams, ask you to find 6 differences between the two diagrams. Okay, the same thing, I am also here. You look at immediate look, very first look at the diagram would gives an impression that both are same. Why? Because it is looking similar. On the left, all your resources are same. You look at that without even color change, they are same. That means you have wind, you have solar, you have fuel cell. But on the right, you can see, rightmost, you can see one major difference. That means these resources are asked to power up or export AC network, which is a low voltage AC network. That is a very important point to note. It is a low voltage AC network. The same resources, if you see on the right hand side, the same resources are asked to deliver a power or export power to low DC network, low voltage DC network. So that is where the change comes. And but altering your resource, you would like to serve two different form of power export. Then the only hope we have power electronic converters. That means these are the one which is going to help in which format you would like to export your energy, and that makes AC versus DC microgrid. So what I want out of this slide is that the resources wise, the renewable resources wise, there is no much difference between formulating AC microgrid or DC microgrid. The major difference comes in terms of the delivery. Call here this is a load N. Load you would like to serve. Load N you would like to have, whether you would like to power it into a type of loads or you would like to power into DC types of loads. And the next difference is on once you decide what sort of loads you are, and that makes a difference in the types of power converters. Other than that, whatever you have it in the leftmost part looks alike. It's not looks alike. So now I would like to ask a question. Two questions. One question to the is it fine if I continue till 12, if you don't mind, or any participants have a problem?
Definitely, sir. Pleasure.
Right. Thank you. Because I at least I wanted to complete fundamentals of DC microgrid. Right. Thank you. So now, if you are already logged in to the to the forum, you would have seen in the same page. Now, of course, changed. That means whole ev.com. You are still live on the same page. Now there will be a new question. Why do you prefer alternating current system over that current system? Here I am asking, for undergraduate student to make the question a little simple. What is the advantage of AC system over DC system? That's the question. So now I think that you will get a provision to enter. You can type and just send me, just push some, I can see. Others also can see. The advantage is what you are responding, the others also can see. Can I expect some one or two responses that I can go further with in terms of what is a DC microgrid, how DC micro is useful. Any issue in terms of entering? Let me type from my mobile. First response. Okay. I told actually one advantage already when I discussed with the war of currents. Probably I will key in that. That means we will get. Okay. Oh, already before I start. Levels. Oh, people already started. Okay. Controlled losses, easy to maintain. Need to use any converter. Very good. No need to use any converter. Both positive and negative output can be obtained to DC system. Okay. I think that must be a undergraduate student, but it is a thoughtful answer. No need to use any other converter. This variety of voltage levels is the one which I type. Okay. See, look at the question clearly. Why do you prefer? We prefer DC system because we can save the direct answer. Okay. But I do not know who answered this. The question is, yes, I will prefer. But my point is, why people are with AC? Even now, we all know that we are using DC distribution. Cost effective. Okay, cost effective is a very wide, wide answer. We cannot immediately figure it out how it would be cost effective. That need an explanation. Now, I am looking for an answer like, there is something like due to transmission advantages. It has some directing. What this participant would like to convey, what I can understand is that ease of transmission. That means you can transfer power very easily for long distance with the help of AC, alternating current system. I can understand that. So like that I want. For an example, another participant, I will prefer DC system. He pointed out very clearly because we can save the DC. Okay, it is a good point. But I will take this point, okay, because that is one hint I have. But thank you. At least I could see a few. Others also can see what others responded. Thank you so much, those who have responded very quickly. Now, so what I think that is a very basic things we will be studying in our undergraduate. Power can be transported with high voltage level in AC with reduced loss. Excellent. DC microgrid is advantages in terms of efficiency, cost. This is something like an indirect answer, but I am not asking about what is the advantage of DC microgrid. I am not asking that now. Okay, that's our next. Okay, thank you for the response. So majorly, what we could say is that alternating current power generation. We start from power generation. With respect to power generation, if you compare, we would have done a course on DC machines and AC machines design, especially design of electrical apparatus. For the same power rating, if you come a DC generator with alternating current generator, there was I came across that DC machines are slightly larger than AC machines. That's one point. That is with respect to which one? Generation. Coming to transmission, yes. Whatever the level of voltage you would like to rise it up, you with the AC power transmission, but at the same time, for very long distance that gives. But for some distance, some long distance, but some limited span, DC gives an advantage. I think that's why HVDC are coming popular. And then coming to distribution side, majority of our loads were designed. Majority of our loads were designed to accommodate AC, so we didn't mind because we didn't face any very serious potential issue using AC. But one of the major point missing, if I think of DC, one of the major point is there is no doubt. So, and someone very clearly pointed out that, sir, DC is best with the storage, not store. So, if, there are 2 points I can take it. That means DC altering voltage, okay, stepping up, stepping down. AC storage is a problem. So, in other words, if we have these two terminologies, we'll be happy, correct? That means if I have DC transformers, AC batteries, I will be really happy. There is no doubt. Correct. But both are achievable through power electronic converter. Sir, what is DC transformer? If you read power electronics, everyone will say a DC to DC converter is a DC transformer. But though, please remember, though I am saying it is a DC, it is not that all the properties of AC transformer you cannot obtain through this DC to DC converter, because here it is magnetic coupled, isolation possible. No, that is not. But one of the basic function of transformer is to change one voltage level. That is now possible through power electronic converter. So DC transformer approximately possible. Then you may ask, sir, what is AC battery? Say answer, you will laugh, but this is the answer. See, let us say you have a battery. You want to charge this battery. You want to store. Okay. What is our idea? Power it up through DC supply. There is no doubt. But I have AC supply only. What will I do? Okay. Do a rectification. Do rectification and turn them. Make it as a controlled rectification and charge it. Now, that's what I told you. You may laugh at or you may even scold me that if I call this box, what? This power electronic converter with my battery, this block, I call it as AC battery. Why now it is AC battery? Because inside this box there is a battery. I am charging with the AC supply. But who is helping me? A power electronic converter is helping. So, of power electronic converter, the terminology of AC battery and DC transformers are possible. Don't scold me. Sir, you are cheating by terminology. Not cheating terminology. By logic, it's possible. There is no doubt. So, why I kept this slide is now, yes, a huge transformation happening with respect to power electronics. Now, thinking about DC is very easy. It is really okay. Now, let me take into. I will do two things today. I mean, probably we'll have some other session also later. Some research aspects of DC microgrid. I will do two things. One is, what are the best of DC microgrid and what are the configuration of DC microgrid? probably with that, I can close this session. So let me tell you what are the best about DC micro. First point is most residential loads are DC and can be operated with DC voltage. I would suggest most of the students as well as faculty member, please at least think or you go and check in your home that is this true. What is the statement? Most residential loads are DC and can be operated with the DC voltage. I will tell you one simple example which operated with DC voltage is our mixer grinder. Mixer grinder. I think if you happen to be a second year student studied DC AC motor, people would have used a word called universal motor. Universal motor which can operate in both AC and DC. Actually, mixer grinder, it is a DC series motor which can be operated in AC as well as DC. Okay. So what I wanted to say, most of the residential loads are DC and it can be operated with DC voltage. So yes, I can think of microgrid of DC, no doubt. Second thing, number of wires required. This is very common point with respect to AC and DC. Very good number of wires is less. Minimal requirement of reactive power. With respect to this point, I'll be very happy. This is actually a kind of drawback in DC system. But still, I could say it is minimal requirement is there in DC system also because of the existence of power electronic. When you bring electronic interface with the AC system, you take an example of battery charging itself. If you would like to have a controlled DC or charge the battery, this source for this term, there is a requirement of reactive power. There is no doubt. You can check with power engineer. I'm not a power electronics engineer, but they will clearly say that there is a requirement of. So, but this is minimal. Okay, reactive power requirement. This is first year level answer. Absence of skin effect, power losses less, high power transfer capability, and fewer redundant power converters. If you want, I will leave my PPT. See, if you look at my AC versus DC microgrid comparison, just count the power converters in AC and DC. 100% in DC microgrid, at least you'll have one less number of converters. That is another beautiful point with respect to DC microgrid. Power flow is more robust without synchronizing. Note this is another happiest point with respect to DC system, DC microgrid. I need not do synchronization. I think if you happen to be a second year student, told a very serious business of voltage, frequency, phase sequence match for grid synchronization. That is not required. You have to just verify whether it is plus minus. Okay, so power flow becomes very interestingly, most of our storage devices, someone told very correctly, most of our storage devices are, this is the slide which will try to convince you that why I can think of formulating a DC microgrid. Okay, but now, as I told you, some of the terminologies, okay, probably I will really here. See, what are the performance parameters? Or I would say that what are the important parameters, rather than calling performance parameters, important parameters I should consider when I try to formulate. When I'm trying to formulate, now I'm interested in formulating and I'm trying to formulate it. When I try to formulate it, what are the points I should take into consideration? First point is topology. For another 10 minutes, I'll try to talk about this. They are very interesting topologies. Topologies. How do I configure it? See, I know there is going to be a wind, I know there is going to be a solar, I know there is going to be maybe fuel cells. How do I interconnect, to get best out of it? That makes topology. Okay. Second point is control strategies. They're very important. Why control strategies are very important? I told you one point very clearly earlier time. Microgrid are supposed to be intelligent. The reason is because of your fluctuating nature of distributed renewable energy source, distributed energy resources. Okay, you may need to do MPPT, then power sharing must be proper, tracking must be done, lot of things, voltage control must be done, all that. So control strategy is another essential parameter. Power management, protection. My area of work is on DC microgrid protection. Okay, probably we'll talk about that in some other session. Power quality, yes, and communication protocol. Just telling there is a huge need of communication engineers' role in framing a DC microgrid. And physical and cyber security. Both depend on computers, communications, intranet, OFC cables, all that. So cyber security, computer science, computer applications, everybody comes into this. So when you are planning to frame a DC microgrids, what these slides tell you is these are the points, keep it in mind. What I told in the earlier slide, I told about what are the best microgrid, DC microgrid. These are the points you should remember with respect. When you try to construct a DC microgrid, these are the points to be remembered. Okay, these are some of the existing DC microgrids in India. To say one or two, our IIT Madras have developed a system which is in operation. In Taiwan, there is a radial type community DC microgrid available. Then Finland has, China has, I think Amsterdam. There is one microgrid. National Park uses DC microgrid. A lot to come. I listed very few. Just to give a confidence that this is not just a theory, just a question of discussion. It is actually being implemented, getting implemented. As I told you, let me go to topology. The topology problem closed, so that will bring us to 12 o'clock, right? Yes, I told you one of the very first point we should think of, or we should consider when you are trying to make a DC microgrid. This is a very beautiful diagram I have taken from a literature, and there's some topology. This is single bus topology. You can say single bus topology. So you can see there is only one bus bar color. That is a DC bus. That is a DC bus. So that is only single bus, and the one which are available above this DC bus bar are sources. The things which are available red line are loads. First, let us look at the sources. You look at the source: solar, wind, micro turbine, fuel cell, and all are having power converters. And this all must be controlled very effectively. And here you have a battery bus, and they do not have any control. They are just connected to the bus. And coming down to the other side, loads. If you look at the loads, AC loads, they are calling it as air conditioned load, but air conditioner load all coming up with brushless DC motors. That also can happen to be a AC load. Now you look at your DC home. If you are interested, you can search in internet. There are a lot of discussion going on. The title itself, DC home. People are trying to make DC homes. Television, bulbs, fan, no doubt all our electronic gadgets, all are DC operated. Bulbs, you may think, sir, I am working in the AC supply. We are having DC bulbs. Okay, no doubt. Fans, brushless DC motor fans are very popular nowadays. They are coming with control, all noiseless operation. Beautiful fans are coming up. Even it is available in Amazon selling also. It has come to market, there is no doubt. Then data center, telecommunication station, motor loads, very, very importantly, the whole world is behind this. That means electric vehicles. The charging stations are going to be DC. What hope I can give you to justify DC microgrids are going to be popular. Right? What I wanted to convey from this diagram is this is one of the simplest diagram. You know, if you are going to think of any project, any research, or anything further at the stage of simulation level, you can think of such configuration and try to bring out good, control techniques to manage the power. Next topology is again called single bus topology, but there is one beautiful difference. If you look at the previous topology, this system, this entire system is in front of AC grid. We don't have AC grid here, nowhere. You can see the entire diagram, there is no AC grid. But if you look at the immediate next diagram, it is single. The bus wise it is single, but you have AC grid. You know, the moment you bring AC grid, I think, I do not know how many of you here have power system analysis, especially with respect to undergraduate student I am telling. Faculty, for sure, they would have done power system analysis course. In power system analysis, there is an analysis called load flow. In load flow analysis, there is an interesting and slightly complex to understand a bus called slack bus. Okay, let me put it in a very simple bus is nothing but a supportive bus. You know, there are so many definitions. Let me call slack bus is a kind of supportive bus or reference bus, correct? Now, in any power network, there must be a reference source, or we call it as a slack source, slack bus. In a single bus, you may ask, sir, in a single bus, how do you say slack bus? In a single bus, it is a slack source. What do you mean by that? Now, see, there is somebody should define the of DC bus as well as if these resources are incapable of, please understand my words, solar PV, wind, my fuel cell, if they are incapable of supplying your load, then the battery comes into picture, correct? So it is a supportive source. When you call it as a supportive source, it will be uncontrolled. It is better to be uncontrolled. Look at the next one. Your support comes from AC grid. So this becomes a slack source. Then your battery and supercapacitor must be a controlled one. Okay. So the major difference between topology and this topology is the incoming of inception of AC grid and the converter addition in battery and supercapacitor. Rest all, you look at all the same.
Hello, sir.
And yes, sir.
Yeah, I have a suggestion in this topology.
Yes.
The load you are showing as the AC load, it is the actually the AC actually it is AC load, but nowadays the inverter ACs are coming and the DC bus is coupled to the DC bus.
Exactly. That is what I mentioned. That means inverter based AC or the compressor motor which is in the air condition can be DC motor. Even this can be directly coupled. That's what I told. You are right. I completely agree. That means you are including air conditioner load, your entire home, DC home. You are right, sir. I agree. Completely agree on that. Probably.
Thank you, sir.
You may need, yes, sir. Probably you may need DC converter for the required level of voltage. Thank you for the input. So now this is going to be single bus with different resources and loads. Only thing is we had a small modification with respect to battery and inception of AC grid. My knowledge. No, actually this is becoming very popular in market. When I say market, I am mentioning electricity market. Especially at distribution level, many people, many countries started talking about this. Let me say that. See, this this one particular red color line is a DC bus. Okay, but this is located, assume it is located in one apartment. So when you say one apartment, you will see mostly home loads, and that apartment owns solar, wind, battery, and supercapacitor. Look at that. Immediate to that apartment, immediate next to an apartment with a very short distance, there is another building, which is a residential building. It has got a data center and plug-in electric vehicle, and it has got its own source of micro turbine, fuel cells, and batteries. Very interesting point is they have a metering, their own metering here, their own metering here. They are doing power exchange in terms of so they started doing. That means they will have a financial commitment between them. When because this fellow is solar and wind. Here he has only micro turbine and fuel cell, correct? So if this is coming high and which is excess, please remember, which is excess than this load, then they are ready to sell with lower price. That is a very important point, with lower price. And suppose if their demand keep increases, they will charge. There are many algorithms are coming up, especially with respect to this power exchange pricing. A lot of terms coming up. This is a very topic. If you are interested, you can think of and start working on that. People are working like anything. So what is happening between, and people went to another one which is called nanogrid. This is called nanogrid. In that what they are talking, they told neighborhood, right? Between house to house. This fellow will have some solar panel, and my neighbor will have, he may not own solar panel, or he may not have solar. Suppose I am going out of my house or my home, I am really living, my family members went out, so my utility less. And I will say, no, you don't purchase from EV, you purchase from me. If you are paying 3 rupees to EV, you give me 2 rupees, you get same power. This is happening. They have local metering. This has started happening, and this is going to be an interesting research problem. You can take it up. And this is a multi-bus topology. Ring bus topology, I think people did transmission and distribution analysis. You must be very familiar with what is ring bus topology, where your resource codes and everything are same. Only thing is the pattern in which it is connected. And I need not explain what is the advantage of ring bus topology. That means if there is a disconnection past case, in other way, power can reach you. That's the best part of it. And the same ring bus topology is slightly modified with the terminology called mesh topology, where small tie lines, that means they can create some zones, they can create some islands. Suppose there is some problem, okay, for some time you operate separately, I operate separately. Your own resources with my own resources. There is another research here, planning. When you want to make mesh topology, you must plan very well, because you should not create a zone only with loads. Only with loads there is no use, right? And only with source also no use, because then the zone of no purpose. And when it comes to combination of load and source zone, what combination? Wind load, solar load, battery load, what load? There is a research. So these are the topologies. Challenges in DC microgrids, all that probably another 1 hour or at least 2 hours to do it, and but I don't know whether I served today, but honestly, whatever I can do from my end for this given time of 1 hour or higher than that, I could do it. And thank you for the opportunity. Special mention to Mrs. Hemalala. She was my student, family friend. Thank you for the opportunity. Probably some other time.
We are very grateful.
Yeah, thank you.
bring people across India, sir. So
Yeah.
you have elevated our institution across India. So that this is, so you have integrated, sir. As we started up, you have integrated from the fundamental up to research, sir. So this your presentation was great, like you have integrated everything, sir. So we got a technically informative and inspiring session from you, sir.
Thank you.
We will explore more from this session, sir. We will be associating with you in the future. Kindly guide us, support us, sir.
No issue. No issue. It's my pleasure to serve.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Yes,
Sir,
please.
thank you very much for this wonderful. I just
Thank you.
want to ask, sir, what should be the standard voltage level of DC microgrid? Like,
Very good.
in your
Very good.
presentation, DC microgrid, you have shown like they are set up with 350 volt and another is 380 volt. What
Yes.
is the standard?
Okay. Actually, it's a good question. Actually, not standardized that. What currently they are doing is they are trying to accommodate two things. Number one, if you happen to know the fundamental side of power electronics, suppose you have an AC load. Suppose you have to serve AC load as well as suppose you have to connect AC grid. Let us say you have a condition. So what will you do? You have to somehow serve the voltage requirement of the AC grid. So based on that, see, suppose you would like to integrate your DC microgrid with the 415 volt AC grid, and if you want to AC side of 415 volt, there is a basic calculation required for what my DC must be. I think a basic power electronics equation will give you. So majority of the paper use that as a thumb rule. Thumb rule is very simple. You have 415 volt AC network. You want to integrate that 450 microgrid. Then there comes an DC to AC converter. For that, what must be your DC input? That you decide. This is one way. One way to decide. The other way, okay, I am not going to pump power to AC grid, but I want to serve power to my local loads. Then you have to see which load needs the highest voltage, and based on that you should decide your DC to DC converter. Let me tell you, you have a 24 volt operated load, DC load. You may need a 12 volt operated DC load. You may need even 5 volt operated DC load. So what you will have, you will be deciding different DC converter for your particular DC loads. Now you should decide one common DC voltage, which may even vary from 24 volt to 1500. That's what literature say. But very simple thumb rule, if you are getting connected to AC network, just think of your output voltage and input voltage. That gives the meaning of what's DC microgrid voltage. But there is no standard. Right now, there is no standard.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Good afternoon, sir. Very nice presentation. I am from Maharashtra. Sir, sir, I want to know, is there any regulation framed by the central government or state government for operating this DC grid?
Very good.
And it means before, and another question in connection with this, that as you told, somebody has gone outside, he can sell the power to the neighbor. So is it possible of some regulation? There is some hurdles. So please guide on that.
Yeah, very good. Thank you for popping up this question. Number one, there's no guidelines or regulation derived by Indian grid or Indian code only to DC microgrid. It is not there. That is first point. But there is an indirect grid code that whether you operate your grid in AC or DC, but when you are venturing into the main grid, you should follow some set of regulations. That is there. See,
Okay.
whether you be it in DC, microgrid format, but you would like to get into the existing grid, there is a regulation. First point.
Okay.
Second point, so what I mean to say that this specifically formulated DC microgrid, there is no grid line, ports. Coming to the second point, you asked about what is your second? I'm sorry.
Second question is that you want to sell the power to your neighbor, but that is not given the power in the Electricity Act. That is not given the provision.
It is not. It is moving under Industry Act. But what they are telling right now is that you can create your own provision to exchange power within without disturbing, your electricity consumption. See, it is like this. Let's say I want a solar inverter in my home. What I will do, I will use it for my purpose, my own purpose.
Yeah.
What people are telling is, suppose you have an excess generation, you can have some particular part of your neighbor load. Naturally, the consumption of their incoming line will decrease because they are not getting connected to that. So there is no question of exporting into the main grid. Then the problem comes in terms of grid code. But there is an exchange between them only with respect to this renewable. Not like I purchase power from AC main, then I will call another house to get connect through me. No, that is illegal. But only in terms of exchange in terms of if you own, then you can do that. That's what it says.
Okay, sir, but it is possible as it is going on in Maharashtra.
I do not have yet place it got implemented, but my friend Dr. Selvan is working in this neighborhood exchange problems, but he used to tell that there are existing existing system where apartment to apartment their exchanges happen.
So, but as per my knowledge, government has issued a notification to all the utilities to provide the net metering, import and export of energy. That may be from
Exactly. So when we a little large scale above some energy consumption or energy exportation level, net metering should be adopted. There is no doubt.
Yeah, definitely. That's why I have such question
here. I will tell you. Probably you can note my email ID. Let me get some input from my friend, and I will surely communicate.
Okay, please, sir. Please.
Yeah, thank you.
Sir, please. Okay, thank you, sir.
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
From Radha Engineering College, final year Tripoli. I have one doubt, sir.
Yes, please.
So, can we set up a microgrid with power capacity greater than 1 megawatt, sir? Is that possible?
No. If you try to set up that, probably people will not call that as microgrid. They call it as a small power plant.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. No more questions. Probably I can conclude here.
Yes, sir. Priyadarshini ma'am, can you?
It's time for a vote of thanks. Good afternoon to all. I deem it a great honor and privilege to post the vote of thanks in this webinar. First and foremost, I thank our Reverend Chairman Sir, Dr. K. Madhavan Sir, who permit us to proceed this webinar and make it a grand success. We thank Sir. And I express my heartfelt thanks to Mr. Sindharikanan Sir, Management Representative of Radha Madhavan Engineering College, for his valuable contribution. We thank you, Sir. We thank our respected Principal Sir, Dr. S. Satish Kumar Sir, who is energetic, innovative, and untiring leader of us. I thank him for his encouragement, motivation, and continued support. We thank you, Sir. Next, I would like to thank our ever-boosting manager, Sir, Mr. Mamudi Sir, who guiding, and going to be guide in all our events. We thank you, sir. And I express my heartfelt thanks to our guest and resource person, Mr. P. Raja, Associate Professor of EEE Department at National Institute of Technology, Tiruchirappalli, for taking out time from his busy schedule and enlightening us with his knowledge. We thank you, sir. My heartfelt thanks to all the heads of the department and faculties for their valuable contribution, guidance, and encouragement in all our efforts. Last but not least, I would like to thank faculties, research scholars from various institutions, and the students of Lata Engineering College for making this webinar as a grand success. Finally, I leave you this inspiring quotes said by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam sir. Mistakes increases your experience and experience decreases your mistakes. If you learn from your mistakes, then others learn from your success. Once again, I thank you all for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry,
Thank you.
sir. It was wrongly interpreted as Mr. Raja. It's Dr. Raja. Sorry, sir.
No.
Sorry.
My name is Raja only.
Thank you. Thank you.
I never mind with that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the session, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Let me leave with your permission.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.